That forum was held in preparation for the 9th BRICS Summit, which will be held in September in Xiamen. I spoke to James Keith. He's the managing director of McLarty Asia practice. I asked him how vital cooperation is among BRICS nations.
Well, it's important that the BRICS and really these regional, region to region and within region, that this integration continue. I think it's pretty important. The United States has a real stake in the success of these integrated approaches, whether it's on a program-by-program basis or whether it's geographic. You know, whether you're talking about APEC for the Asia-Pacific Economic Forum for East Asia and other Pacific countries, or whether you're talking about the BRICS. This is the way the global economy's got to work in the 21st century.
Yeah, I just got back from Beijing. They had the summit for the Belt and Road Initiative. And of course, when you look at BRICS, the one letter that sticks out is R, because Vladimir Putin was there. But how do these other countries, how would they relate in the Belt and Road Initiative? Or do you see them playing a role there?
I think so. You know, the Chinese are frequently characterize themselves as a leader of the developing economies or emerging economies, and that's the connection you see in the BRICS. That is, someone who speaks for that part of the development spectrum, not the lesser developed economies and not the more mature economies growing at a slow pace off a very high base. So I think it's important that the BRICS have an opportunity to put forward issues along the lines of what they do with small and medium-sized enterprises, for example, to ensure that that voice is part of the mix and the wide variety of multilateral organizations that are addressing these economic issues important to emerging economies.
It's almost like a circulatory system in a sense, the way the global economy is now. So these kind of relationships are vital, and yet you do have Western nations. I mean, we've seen it with Brexit. We've seen it with a U.S. president who was elected largely on this call to, like, look, we got to look inward. Talk to me about this dynamic. You see some going back in this direction while China and other countries going in the other direction.
Well, in the United States, I know I'm not speaking for the administration. I'm on the outside, of course, but I think it's important to recognize that no one's immune to the effects of globalization. Many of those are extremely positive, helping countries to lift millions, if not hundreds of millions of people out of poverty. But there are some pernicious effects as well. In particular, I think accentuating the difference between the have and the have-nots.
This year's summit, the theme is Stronger Partnership for a Brighter Future. Stronger partnership as the U.S. backs away from TPP, China basically putting its chips on the table saying this is the direction we're going in. So is that at the expense of countries like the United States, or how does all of this factor in?
Well, it's a great question. I mean, it's certainly something that's being widely debated in East Asia in particular. I think it remains to be seen how that's going to play out. Clearly, there's a view that China's pursuit of One Belt, One Road is not only about the economics and the developmental aspects, but also about the exercise of soft power. I don't think you can divorce or distinguish between the two. It's simply a matter of a foreign policy agenda that has to accommodate the broad range of interests of China in the case of what it's pursuing, and the United States in the case of what it's pursuing. Well, I'm confident that over the course of the Trump administration, the development will be in the direction of continued engagement and continued prosecution of the American people's interests in these economies and in these regions.